Hey guys, my name is Kelsey Burns, and I'm going to be presenting on stages of relationships in the book series A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. The stages of relationships are important because it defines the characteristics of the relationship at any given point in the relationship and lets you know where the relationship is currently standing and where the relationship is headed if you continue the behavior that you are engaged in. So the stages of relationship just refers to all the phases that your relationship can go through in the relationship, and it can range from just meeting to being best friends to breaking up the relationship. So the stages for coming together are initiating, experimenting, intensifying, integrating, and bonding. Starting from the beginning, initiating is just meeting someone and letting them know you're interested, so making eye contact. Experimenting would be asking questions such as, how's the weather, how are you, just seeing if you like them, if you want to continue. So the next phase is intensifying, and that's when you decide that you do want to continue the relationship, and that's when you start having conversations on a more intimate and personal level. And then integrating is when you guys decide you want to be a couple exclusively and you start letting your friends know that you are in a relationship. And the last stage, bonding, is when you announce to the public that you are in a relationship. There are 5 coming apart stages: differentiating, circumscribing, stagnating, avoiding, and terminating. And so differentiating is when you guys start realizing that you're different and you start using the term I instead of we. Circumscribing is when you limit your interactions with each other because you don't want to argue anymore. Stagnating is when the relationship is just kind of at a standstill and no one really bothers to engage in the relationship. Avoiding is when you avoid the other person and neither partner wants to see the other. And terminating is just when the relationship is over, you guys decided to break up. So there are 2 examples that I want to share with you from the book series, and that is the relationship between Feyre and Rhysand and the relationship between Feyre and Tamlin. So starting with Feyre and Tamlin, they're going to be the example for coming apart. Their relationship started differentiating when Tamlin ignored Feyre's pleas for help. She was going through a rough time and was having nightmares every night, but he kind of ignored her, and she started to realize how different they were because she would never do that to him. And after that, they started circumscribing because Tamlin would always go out hunting, and whenever he would come back, he just didn't want to talk to Feyre, and because all that had happened, Feyre didn't want to talk to him either. So they just kind of started limiting their interactions. And then they started stagnating, neither bothered to engage in the relationship much. They avoided each other, and then they ended with terminating. Their relationship just ended because they weren't good for each other. On the other hand, the relationship between Feyre and Rhysand was much better, and they actually skipped the initiating and experimenting stage and went straight to intensifying. And they skipped those 2 stages because they went through a traumatic event together that caused them to go straight to intensifying, where they started sharing really intimate details and connecting about the trauma they went through, and that caused them to go into integrating, where Rhysand really started liking her, and they started telling their friends that they were a couple because they just connected so well. And then it went into bonding, where Rhysand announced to the whole city that he and Feyre were together. So he made their relationship a public announcement. And I included a picture in a separate link that shows the stages of relationships. The coming together stages are going up the stairs, and the coming apart stages are going down the stairs. And what can we learn from all this? So we learn that you need to maintain the relationship in order for you guys to stay together. So if we look at the first example, Tamlin did a horrible job of maintaining the relationship. He was uninterested in Feyre, and he just didn't care much about her. And even Feyre, she kind of stopped trying too, and that really caused them to plummet in the coming apart stages. On the other hand, Rhysand and Feyre did a really good job of maintaining the relationship. Rhysand, he never brushed off her problems, and it might be because they shared that experience together, that traumatic experience, and Feyre did the same for him with just asking him about it, and Rhysand just staying very loyal to her, so he did a really good job at maintaining the relationship. So if we don't maintain the relationship, we can end up coming apart. And this whole knowing about the stages of relationships really just helps you to know what stage your relationship is in, and if you need to change your behavior, because if you start to notice that your relationship is in the differentiating stage, then that should be a sign for you to start caring about the relationship more and asking about your partner. But if you guys know that you are safe in the bonding stage, then you're doing a good job. So overall, the stages of relationships are just a progression of the relationship, and they can play out of order, and it just helps provide self-awareness and the thought that we need to be aware of how we're maintaining the relationship. Thank you.